10,000 satellites. You already lost something this week and you don't know what it is. Not your keys, not your wallet, something bigger, something that used to belong to everyone, the night sky. And you didn't notice because it happened in pieces. One satellite, one launch, one small permission granted by people you've never met. 10,000. That's not a number that lands right. It's too big and it sounds like a statistic or something that happens to other people on other continents. But here's the thing about 10,000 satellites. You can't see them. Most of them, not with your eyes, but you can feel them. Maybe not physically, at least not yet, but they're changing something you thought was permanent, something that was always there for every human who ever looked up. The first time I heard the number, I didn't believe it. 10,000 active satellites, 2/3 of everything we've ever put in orbit, all operated by one company and one person, Elon Musk. And he's not stopping. They've applied to launch 1 million more, not a typo, 1 million. They want to fill low Earth orbit with what they're calling orbital data centers, AI servers in space. And they want permission to do it from the Federal Communications Commission, a government agency you've probably never thought about, making a decision that will change the sky for everyone on Earth. Like, what the hell are we even doing anymore? We are being so distracted while our planet is being hijacked. How can anyone not be severely concerned about this? They're like thieves in the night that waltzes in and takes over everything. Please hear me on this, fam, and truly give yourselves permission to understand. The sky you grew up with, the one you looked at as a kid and wondered what was out there, that sky is already gone. It's been gone for a while. You just didn't know what you were looking at. The first time a Starlink satellite crossed the night sky, it looked like a shooting star. Maybe you saw one and thought it was beautiful. But what you were seeing was the beginning of the end. Not dramatic, not explosive, just a line of light moving too fast to be a plane, too steady to be a meteor. And now there are 10,000 of them. The European Southern Observatory just published a study that should terrify you. They simulated what the sky will look like when all these satellites are up there. If SpaceX gets approval for their 1 million data center satellites, plus the other constellations from Amazon and China, we're looking at 1.7 million satellites in orbit. And for a large fraction of every single night, hundreds of them will be visible, up to several thousand at once. The number of stars you can see with the naked eye under perfect conditions, about 2,000. Do the math. There will be more satellites in the sky than stars. The night sky that every human before us looked up at will look like a bright city suburb. That's not poetry. That's a scientific calculation. And the scientists who made it are not alarmists. Olivier Hainaut, the astronomer who led the study, has been working on satellite mitigation for years. He's not against technology, but his numbers are clear. No more than 100,000 faint satellites should orbit Earth if we want to preserve ground-based astronomy. We're already at 14,000, and we're talking about 1 million more. But let me stop here and be fair. Starlink provides internet to over 10 million users across 160 countries. Remote villages, war zones, places where traditional broadband never reached. I need you to understand that I see the value. I see the argument. I'm not telling you this is simple. The people who built this system have a case to make. Global connectivity is real. For the first time, a kid in rural India can access the same information as someone in New York. I get it. But here's what I don't get. The same company that brought you that connectivity is now asking permission to fill the sky with something that has nothing to do with internet. Data centers, AI servers in space. They filed an application with the FCC in January 2026 for up to 1 million orbital data center satellites. And Amazon, of all companies, sent a 17-page letter to the FCC asking them to reject it. You know, Amazon has their own satellite system called LEO, 300 satellites. They're competitors. But even a competitor should make you pause when they say, this application appears to be an exercise in publicity and messaging, and at worst, an attempt to stake a priority claim over a vast swath of orbital resources with no genuine intent to deploy. That's a direct quote. Amazon wrote that to the FCC, and their arguments are specific. SpaceX is asking for permission to launch satellites that could occupy virtually any altitude between 500 and 2,000 kilometers. They've provided technical details for exactly 3 satellites. 3 out of a million, 0.0003%. And they've asked for waivers on the FCC's build-out milestones. No deadlines, no penalties for failure to deploy, just permission to claim space they might never actually use. Filing an application for 1 million satellites when you can't even describe what they look like is not a plan. It's a land grab. And the land is orbit, the common heritage of humanity, the thing we all own together. And they're filing paperwork to take it. Amazon also pointed out that at the current global launch rate, it would take over 220 years to deploy 1 million satellites. And that's assuming every single rocket launched on Earth is dedicated exclusively to this project. SpaceX is asking for a blank check to occupy space for centuries. That's not a business plan. That's a claim of ownership. But what's even more concerning to me is that SpaceX has a plan for what happens when these satellites die. And it's not a good plan. Right now, Starlink satellites last about 5 years. Then they're deorbited. They burn up in the atmosphere. That's supposed to be good. Better than leaving dead satellites floating around to become collision hazards. But the missing piece here is that those things burning up in the atmosphere, those satellites don't disappear. They become vapor, aluminum vapor, and that vapor goes into the stratosphere. The American Astronomical Society published a study on this in June 2025. They calculated that just from the current Starlink constellation, not the million data centers, we're already dumping at least 8 tons of aluminum into the stratosphere every single day, 25 times more than natural reentry from meteoroids. And they don't know what that does. They're not sure. But preliminary studies suggest it could change atmospheric chemistry, possibly cause ozone depletion. It takes about 30 years for these particles to settle down into the ozone layer, 30 years. So even if we stop launching satellites tomorrow, we're locked into 30 years of consequences we can't fully predict. And SpaceX knows this. In their FCC filing for the data centers, they made a request that should make anyone's head pop right the hell off. They asked for permission to retire satellites operating above 600 kilometers into graveyard orbits, rather than deorbiting them into the atmosphere. Why? Because they're worried about the atmospheric pollution from burning up so many massive satellites. So So instead of burning them up, they want to abandon them in space. Orbital littering. Just today on the local news, there was a report about a mysterious gray metallic sphere that had fallen into someone's yard. And while investigators have not confirmed that it came from space, the image alone was enough to stop people in their tracks. It made me think about something far bigger than one strange object. The European Southern Observatory has warned that if the thousands of proposed satellite constellations from companies and governments around the world continue to expand, the night sky could be transformed by an unprecedented number of objects in orbit. Every satellite has a lifespan, and while many are designed to burn up during re-entry, not every piece is guaranteed to completely disintegrate. We already see rocket stages, satellite fragments, and other space debris making uncontrolled returns to Earth from time to time. As humanity races to fill low Earth orbit with more and more hardware, my concern isn't just whether we'll ever see the stars the same way again. My concern is, what happens when those things start to fall on us? What happens when a piece crashes through someone's roof, lands in a neighborhood, destroys property, injures a family, or worse,